Hi, this is Bart Caylor. Thanks so much for joining us today. This is one of my first videos that I'm going to do, and I've got here on the phone with me is Howard Scott from the UK. And Howard, maybe you can kind of just give us a brief introduction about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, thanks for asking me to do this. So my name's Howard Scott. I'm the founder of Three Bears Creative Agency based in Brighton in the UK. I've been working in the digital industry for quite some time now, since '96, mostly agency side, based in London. But more recently, I sort of went on my own path and I started to work with bigger brands in-house and so forth, in particular the National Trust here in the UK, which is a really large charity, and other brands like Visit Britain and so on and so forth. So Three Bears is an agency that we run from a virtual point of view, and we can grow as and when required with the client's needs and so forth.
Great, great. And I know Howard and I kind of share that idea of the virtual agency. I know a lot of you that follow the blog kind of know that about Caylor Solutions, and so it's great to connect with Howard a little bit. And I know that a lot of people have been asking me about this general data protection regulation that the European Union is getting ready to roll out this month. And so a lot of us in the States are surprised it actually could be, could affect us, and especially a lot of the schools that are recruiting students from the European Union's countries. So I guess my first question for you, Howard, is just help us understand a little bit about what GDPR is. And we really haven't heard much about it, but it could impact us. So maybe just kind of give us a little brief thumbnail of what it is.
So yeah, GDPR is a new regulation that is going to come into pass on the 25th of May this year. So not very long until that happens, about 9 days. And it's designed to protect individuals, so individual citizens rather than corporations, and their data and how it's used by others. And it affects every citizen within the European Union, including those within the United Kingdom, even though we are leaving the EU as a result of the Brexit nightmare. So what that means is if you work with data, and data can be something as simple as someone's email address, and that person is an EU citizen, you are subject to the GDPR regulations. That doesn't matter if you're in America or China or wherever you are. If you're handling the data from an EU citizen, you are subject to GDPR.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how is this impacting your clients at Three Bears? And I understand it's, if you're collecting that data on the web, but it goes a lot deeper than that, doesn't it? I mean, it's not just about having a privacy policy on your website.
No, it covers all aspects of data. So it can cover traditional print-based direct mail. It can cover the way you use a person's data in Google Analytics to dynamically deliver content to them on your website. It can cover the way advertising is presented, if that advertising is tailored to a person's data. And of course, it covers email marketing as well. And that's the one we're seeing a lot of at the moment. I'm being bombarded all the time by that. So it's not only affecting our clients, it affects us directly as an agency as well. Because if we hold a mailing list, which of course we do, that is classed as data, and we have to inform people how to use that. So yeah, really every company that works with the EU users is going to be impacted by this.
Okay, so what are you advising your clients to do? Even in the UK, I mean, and how could how could our clients learn from you and maybe make sure that they're in compliance? Because the last thing they want to do is get a letter from a lawyer saying, hey, you've mishandled our client's data.
Absolutely, and the lawyer in question is the Information Commissioner's Office, and their remit is to fine companies extremely large amounts of money, and we're talking potentially in millions of pounds or dollars. So this is a very serious thing. We're advising our clients mostly to do two things. From a website point of view, really what you have to do is make users aware that your privacy policy has been updated in relation to the GDPR regulations. There's some great links online from the Information Commissioner and other places as well, which I'll share with you afterwards, Bart, that you can put in this video or in the comments section for people to look at. And the ICO in particular has a 12-step process that's really good to make sure you're online. So from a web point of view, though, just make sure your privacy policy is as up-to-date as it can be. And it very clearly informs those people what you're doing with the data and how you're using it. The other one then is from a marketing communications point of view. For our clients in particular, that's email marketing. But as I say, it could be direct mail or anything as well, where data is used to personalize information. If it's an email list that you've got, what we're recommending is that people segment their list into two sections. One, if someone's bought something from you, there is a clause that says that if someone's bought something from you in the past, then they have a vested interest in hearing from you in the future. And so you can just direct those people to the updated privacy policy on the website, and that should be sufficient. We've sort of heard from lawyers. For those people that haven't bought something from you in the past, but that are on your list, you need to get them to opt in again. And that's why the segmentation is important. So basically, you need to say to them, look, we want to keep in touch with you. Here's why. It's because of GDPR. And what we want you to do is to tell us that you're still interested in hearing from us. And if you're not interested in hearing from us, then please unsubscribe. Basically, if they do not specifically tell you that they want to hear from you, you have to remove them after the 25th of May anyway. So those are the general rules of thumb that we're doing for our clients and indeed for ourselves.
Okay, that's great. That's very good to know, because I got your email yesterday because I'm subscribed to your list, and I saw that you had asked me that, and I had to, say I want to stay in contact and do that. So that there is documentation for that would be sufficient to know that you have my permission.
Absolutely. And obviously, if you use an email marketing platform like MailChimp or whatever, the list capability in there very clearly shows, if people are subscribed or not. There's a lot of concern, obviously, that if you do this and you end up losing a vast majority of people on your list, that's bad for your process. But the way I've been advising clients is that obviously you may have been talking to these people for quite some time, and they may not be the right audience for who you're trying to reach anyway. So a good cleanse of a mailing list every now and again is never a bad thing. And what you're getting in this situation is a very definitive, actually, yeah, I want to hear from you. So keep in touch. And I think that's a good thing in the long run.
Good. And even beyond the email, I mean, we're certainly just talking about, I think, what we can provide our clients with as far as email and marketing communications. But from my understanding is that even beyond that, if a school here in the United States or Canada takes an application from someone in a European Union citizen, there are certain things that they have to assure that the way that data is managed, even in their internal servers and in the cloud, to protect that citizen, that goes even beyond what we're talking about here. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And this isn't to do with where the data is stored at all or anything like that. This is to do with the fact that that person is an EU citizen. So it doesn't matter where you're storing that data. But basically, if you're an American company, for example, and you are dealing with global citizens, then what we've been saying is you need to identify those people that you're trying to talk to or reach who are in the EU, and then segment your list further in that point of view as well. Because, if someone's a United States citizen, you don't need to worry about GDPR for them at all. It's only if they're in the EU. So yeah, it's all data that you hold on someone as well, by the way. So if you hold any piece of data that can identify that person as an individual, and that may not necessarily be their name, but it might be, some kind of tracking or whatever, then that it also falls under this remit.
Okay, great. Well, and this has been so helpful. I really appreciate your time. And I'll just make a comment you and I have talked about before, that if we've got someone that's either a client or a potential client here in the United States that really wants to have additional help beyond that, I know that Howard has agreed that we can do some consulting together and make sure that I get him in touch with you and your school to be able to just make sure that you are in compliance. And he's got some expertise that obviously some of us here in the States don't have yet. But there's a lot of resources out there, and as Howard mentioned, he'll post those. We'll include that in this blog post. And then if you want an additional conversation or be introduced, that's something you can certainly do through me. And
absolutely
find out more about Howard. And I think that we, more than anything, just want to make sure that everybody's aware and is in compliance. Just as a side note, Howard, I mean, you can appreciate this. I recently got a letter of litigation just on an image that I used on a website, on my own website. We had it up for a day. And
wow.
there are sharks out there that are looking for this type of thing. And I'm not saying that that's what the commission is doing, but being sure that you're in compliance with the law is more than ever more important. I used to say, oh, you're a small fish, they're not going to find you. But with technology, those things happen these days.
Yeah, absolutely. It really does. And as I say, the ICO's remit is to actively look for people who, well, not people, but organizations that are not in compliance. And the fines are potentially enormous, business changing size fines.
Yeah. And the amount of investment to get around that and avoid that is quite minimal. And so I think
absolutely. I mean, as you saw yourself yesterday from my email, an email out from MailChimp, which just says, look, we want to stay in touch with you. Just tell us if you want that or not. Yeah. I'm paraphrasing, but that's kind of what you need to do.
Okay, good. Well, I will, again, really appreciate your time today. We'll keep everybody in touch with this. I have some resources, and if you have any questions, let me know, and I can get you in touch with Howard. So thanks again, Howard. I really appreciate your time today.
My pleasure. Thank you.